You know, this is ridiculous. I mean, me being in a Plymouth Ford slide film like this. I'd sure rather be sitting out front with you fellas. But about a month or so ago, old Bill here got real lucky, or real smart. Yep, I did the impossible. I sold Callahan. You don't know Callahan? Well, here, take a look. Hey, fellas, don't panic. It's only a picture of a cop. Real stubborn, too, and nuts about Fords. What makes Callahan extra special, though, is that he's chief of police, and he also buys all the municipal cars for our little community here. Well, anyway, about a month ago, we had a Plymouth Ford comparison meeting, and Gibson, that's our sales manager, was showing us a new test track film he'd received. Well, sir, he really proved that we had Ford beat 6 ways from Sunday. And Gibson ends up by saying that we should get hot on this new material. You know, try it out on 5 of the toughest Ford owners we could think of. Immediately, I think of Callahan. And why not? He needs a car that'll perform and ride nice and handle easy, just like an ordinary citizen. Only more so. Well, sir, next thing I know, I'm loading a projector and all that Plymouth Ford dope into my demo and taking off to the police station to see Callahan. Oh, how crazy can you get? After I get in to see the chief, I almost get tossed right out again when I tell him I'm there to sell him on the '58 Plymouth.
Now look here, lad. I happen to like Fords, and I'll continue to specify Fords as long as I have anything to say about it. And I got a '58 Ford demo out front right now, so quit wasting my time.
Don't get me wrong, Chief. I know how popular Ford is for police work. But in the last couple of years, Plymouth's made a lot of important changes in performance, comfort, safety. Things I think you'll want to check over before you buy another car for the town.
Yeah, I've heard about Plymouth's torsion bar ride or whatever it's called, but our cars have got to be more than just ordinary passenger cars.
Sure they do. They've got to have lots of get up and go, right?
Yep.
And they've got to be dependable. Go when you want, not down for repairs all the time.
Yeah, and don't be forgetting the guys that put in 6 to 8 hours in the saddle every day.
Check. Your cars ought to be comfortable, roomy, easy to handle. Chief, that's exactly why I think you'll want to see what I've got here. Now, these are some pictures of road tests that were made by an impartial testing organization at a private track. The cars were picked right off showroom floors, just the way anybody'd buy them. They were tuned to factory specifications and driven by professional test drivers. In fact, we could run these same tests ourselves with that Ford demo in my Plymouth.
Never mind. Just go on with your story.
Okay. The cars were equipped with their top engines and transmissions. Plymouth with the new 350 cubic inch Golden Commando V8 and torque flight. Ford with its new 352 cubic inch Interceptor Special V8 and Cruise-O-Matic. Well, we first tested both cars for acceleration from a standing start to see which could get up to expressway speed more quickly, pass more safely. Now here, both drivers jam their accelerators to the floor at the 0 mark. As Ford passes the 150-foot mark, Plymouth already leads by a car length. At the 200-foot marker, it's Plymouth by a length and a half. Plymouth widens the gap. At the 300-foot mark, or in just about the length of a city block, Chief, the Plymouth is ahead by almost 3 car lengths. So you can see that the Golden Commando engine gives the kind of performance you want.
Yeah, it's impressive, all right, but those hot rod engines are in the shop all the time. They don't hold up in service.
Well, I don't know what experiences you've had with Ford engines, Chief, but I know Plymouth's Golden Commando engine is dependable.
Exactly why?
Well, sir, the Golden Commando has more main bearing area, for one thing. We have a higher capacity oil pump and a higher pressure lubrication system. And we have a forged crankshaft. It's stronger than Ford's cast crank.
Huh. Well, I'll bet it'll shoot my fuel budget all to...
No, it won't, Chief. You heard about Plymouth's win in the mobile gas economy run.
Yeah?
Okay, it was Plymouth, not Ford, that had the best economy. But you can expect even better mileage in a '58. Because we've got a new fuel saver choke that gives you more economical warm-ups. You'll save gas on every cold engine start.
Well, maybe your engine does save on gas and service, but my big gripe with these hot engines is that they're murder on clutches and gears. You should see my bills. And that's why I'm thinking of getting that Ford Cruise-O-Matic on our next car.
Well, Cruise Cruise-O-Matic should give as good service as Plymouth's Torque Flight. But where Cruise-O-Matic can't touch Torque Flight, Chief, is in acceleration and engine braking. Now, here are two tests that'll show what I mean. The Torque Flight Plymouth and the Cruise-O-Matic Ford are about to climb a steep grade at full throttle. This test shows how well the transmission can multiply the engine's basic torque output.
Hey, how come the Plymouth is getting out in front? Ford's supposed to have more torque.
Yes, but our Torque Flight transmission gives more torque multiplication. Look at Plymouth's lead now. You can see that Torque Flight puts more torque at the wheels. But you should also be able to use your automatic transmission to slow the car down, too, so you can lay off the brakes. Just look at this test. The Ford driver has shifted to low range, and the Plymouth driver has pushed the 1 button. Then both cars are allowed to roll down the hill, neither driver touching the brakes.
Engines on?
Yes, sir, idling. You see how the Ford has already moved ahead of the Plymouth? This is one race where the winner is last. At the bottom of the grade, the Plymouth has picked up 2 car lengths because the Torque Flight transmission gives better downhill braking. So you see, Chief, the Golden Commando with Torque Flight gives you better engine braking, more go, and it's more dependable day after day. And it saves gas, too.
Just imagine the Plymouth taking the Ford like that.
Chief, you've only seen part of what Plymouth can do for you. These next pictures deal with brake fade. As you know, whenever brakes get a good hard workout and get hot, they're likely to fade.
And don't I know it from bitter experience?
Well, here Plymouth and Ford are side by side at 60. And both have just completed 6 hard, high-speed stops, so their brakes are plenty hot. They're even, so they get the flag. And this is after they've gotten the flag and have braked to a stop. Some difference, eh?
Must be 50 feet. Come on, lad. The Ford people build a good car.
Sure they do, Chief. But there are a lot of things Plymouth does better than Ford. And designing a good brake system is one of them. Plymouth total contact brakes have more lining area, 184 square inches to Ford's 180 square inches. But even more important is the fact that all of Plymouth's lining is making full, even contact with the brake drums. Ford's brake shoes can't make total contact. Result? Less stopping power than Plymouth, you see?
Okay, so you got good binders. But will they be working for me? Or will they be in the shop for relining with the city treasurer crying all over my uniform about costs?
Chief, Plymouth brakes not only give better braking, but they give better braking over a longer service life.
Now, you'll not be telling me that's because Plymouth's got 4 square inches more lining area?
No, it helps. But more important is that Ford's lining is riveted, and Plymouth's is bonded to the shoe. So Plymouth has extra usable lining thickness. None is wasted under rivets.
Ah, you're just trying to confuse me with facts.
Chief, since you mentioned that you're familiar with torsion-air suspension, I won't go into torsion-air design. But I'd like to show you just how torsion-air stacks up in action against Ford suspension. Now watch this test of handling. Those pylons are set 60 feet apart. The cars will try to weave through them at 35 miles an hour. The object is to stay on the road and still not knock down any pylons.
I hope they're soft.
They won't hurt the Ford. Now, the action starts at this point. Both cars are still in good shape, but watch. See how Plymouth can wrap itself around the next pylon while Ford skids wide. It actually misses the next pylon while Plymouth is still snaking through. Plymouth is still under control when Ford breaks loose and slides off the road.
Hold it! That Ford slid right off the road.
Didn't I say that?
But that's a Ford.
Well, that's a torsion-air Plymouth. And here's another test that may surprise you. That's a mighty deceiving railroad crossing. Watch them take it at 30. Plymouth lands hard, but torsion-air and Oriflow shocks keep the rear end from bottoming. Ford bottoms hard. And now the rebound. You see how torsion-air soaks up rebound and holds the Plymouth level? The Ford has less control and bounces high in the air.
And the poor driver right with it, I'll bet. But look, we don't do much of that kind of driving around here. It's mostly stop and go.
Then this next test of brake dip will interest you. At the flag, both drivers will hit their brakes hard from 30 miles an hour. You see how Plymouth stays level while Ford dives for the road? And when it comes to flat, stable starts, look at the difference between Plymouth and Ford as both drivers gun it. The Ford looks like it's going to sit down. So there are some more reasons why Plymouth can do your job, Chief. Better stability, control, and handling.
Isn't there anything a Ford does better than a Plymouth?
I'll tell you what, Chief. If there's anything you want in a car that I don't compare, you just holler.
I will.
All right, let's take power steering next. Plymouth's new constant control power steering cuts down on steering wheel winding. Makes it easier to drive safer.
I don't get it.
All right, take a situation like this. When you're too close to stop, you want to turn quick, right?
Yep.
Then here's how we tested for quick steering. The cars were spotted in a steering trap. Then each car's steering wheel was turned exactly 1/2 turn to the left, or just as far as it would be turned with one quick movement of a driver's hands in a panic situation.
Yeah?
Then each car was allowed to roll forward 20 feet, about a car length. And Plymouth's more responsive constant control power steering shows its advantage.
You mean because the Plymouth steering is quicker, it can turn sharper?
That's right, Chief. About 2 feet sharper on a quick turn. Just about the width of a pedestrian, wouldn't you say?
I'm afraid it would still be a glancing blow in my case.
Well, one thing's sure, Chief. Any pedestrian, regardless of size, is easier to see through a Plymouth windshield. Here, take a look for yourself. Notice that the Plymouth windshield gives more eye-level safety visibility by making the windshield widest right at eye level. Ford's reverse slant windshield posts cut into eye-level visibility and reduce the driver's view of traffic. Now, another reason for Plymouth's extra safety visibility is that the Plymouth has more windshield area to begin with. 1,444 square inches to only 979 for Ford. There's almost 1/2 more glass in the Plymouth windshield. And see how Plymouth's rear view mirror is clear of the windshield, close at hand. Ford's mirror hangs right down into the driver's eye-level visibility. Now, when the going gets sloppy, Plymouth's extra-long 16-inch wiper blades give you more wet weather visibility, too. And being electrically operated, Plymouth's blades don't poop out just when you need them.
You know, that Ford demonstrator I got out front does seem a bit cramped for visibility.
Probably isn't just the visibility, Chief. Ford's front seat is cramped.
What?
By comparison, I mean. Every Ford front seat comfort dimension is smaller than Plymouth's by an average of almost 2 inches.
I don't believe it.
All right, let's step out front and you can compare the difference in roominess and comfort for yourself.
Okay, but you'd better know what you're talking about.
Now, suppose we start by measuring the headroom in the Ford, using your fingers for a height gauge. Your own 2 fingers tell you just how little headroom the Ford is able to give. Now, before you try the same test in the Plymouth, take a look around. Check the legroom, the steering wheel clearance. Watch your knee as you get out. You notice how much easier it is to get in the Plymouth, Chief? A bigger entrance and no knee knocker either. All right, now let's check the Plymouth's headroom.
Yeah, I can get my whole hand above my head.
Right, Chief. And check Plymouth's legroom and wheel clearance. By the way, while you're in there, notice Plymouth's extra eye-level visibility, too. No cramped feeling in Plymouth, is there, Chief?
No, I guess you got it.
Now, if you want to see room, come on around the back and compare the trunks. Look here, Chief. Plymouth's trunk is higher, wider, and deeper than Ford's, so it's easier to load and can carry more. And notice that Plymouth uses adjustable torsion bar springs. Ford uses fixed coil springs, which stick into luggage space. And only with Plymouth can you have your trunk closed but not locked. Real handy when you want to get your sawed-off shotgun out in a hurry. Before you shoot, though, Chief, take a good long look at this Plymouth. Isn't it a honey? And notice how those fins make it look really low.
Yeah, but the Ford's got fins, too.
Sure, but they're not big enough to give that long, low look. And here's a practical note, too. Suppose both cars got whacked in the side, and you know it could happen. Which car would cost less to bump out and be back in service sooner? The smooth-sided Plymouth or the Ford with its sculptured panels? And something else. You see how this big bumper gives better protection for the grille and front end? The grille itself is a sturdy anodized aluminum grid, not a stamping like Ford's. And see how Plymouth's dual headlights are a built-in part of the styling? Would you say Fords have that built-in look, Chief?
The city ain't buying style. But you have covered the beat. What you haven't covered is the city treasure. Dollars and cents are the only comparisons he cares about. I don't suppose that if I should decide I liked Plymouth, you could come up with the right price. Could you?
Well, I don't have to tell you guys out there that here's where the real fight started. But you know, this year we can hold our own in any price battle. So when the smoke finally cleared away, I became famous as the man who sold Callahan. Simply by telling the chief exactly why he'd be better off buying a Plymouth, just like you'd sell to anybody else. But you want to know who really sold Callahan? You guessed it, the 1958 Plymouth.
Let's quickly review the quiz included in the film. 1. Plymouth's Golden Commando V8 has 2 cubic inches more displacement than Ford's Interceptor Special V8. True or false? 2. A Plymouth with the Golden Commando out accelerated a Ford with the Interceptor V8 at 300 feet by over 1, 2, or 3 car lengths. 3. The Ford engine uses a forged crankshaft like that of all Plymouth engines. True or false? 4. Plymouth's torque flight gives more torque multiplication for acceleration, hill climbing, and engine braking. True or false? 5. Plymouth's brakes are bigger than Ford's by 4 square inches. True or false? 6. What superiorities does Torsion Air have over Ford's suspension? Handling, brake dip, rebound control, acceleration squat, boulevard ride. 7. With a half turn of the steering wheel, a power steering Plymouth will outturn a Ford by 6, 12, 18, 24 inches in a car length. 8. Plymouth's windshield has almost 50% more glass area than a Ford. True or false? 9. Plymouth excels Ford in all but one of the front seat comfort dimensions. True or false? 10th Plymouth's trunk is higher, wider, or deeper than Ford's.
Chrysler would add a few interesting comparisons on each film along with a new storyline, and as for the quiz, there were a couple trick questions, but most were all. Ford doesn't have any bigger front seat dimensions bigger than the Plymouth. Thanks for watching. Next week is the '58 Plymouth versus the Chevrolet, so don't forget to subscribe.